Welcome to TARTLEcast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path.
Welcome back, everybody, to TARTLEcast. All of our supporters being those data champions and
champion. What's the song from
the world's problems?
What's the champion song from like the late 70s? Was it Queen?
Yeah, We Are the Champions.
Yeah, We Are the Champions.
Yeah, it's Queen. Yeah. Queen's a great band.
Yeah, that's a great song. That's what everyone's data champions just play that song. In the play. Dun 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 dun.
Too bad we don't own the rights to it.
yeah, exactly. No, we just got to take it down from YouTube.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm sleeping last night.
Yes,
this will lead into what we're talking about here. And yeah, even though it's like,
why? Because everybody's sleeping on our show.
No,
it's so boring.
This guy sucked to listen to. Why do I even tune in? People, the guy's driving the car. He's like, I don't even know why I listen to these guys.
Why am I listening to this fucking data show?
I turn it on anyway.
Yeah, it helps me.
So I got the window cracked open, and it's like 20 degrees outside. Wind's just absolutely whipping up here at 6,000 feet up, and I start hearing all these coyotes howling. And it's funny because the wind is carrying their voices from where they are over in the reservation land. And it's like 2:30. And I know they just killed something. But the pack
was just all excited.
It was just so excited. And then they all get out of control and they're all like yipping and screaming.
They didn't care.
No, they didn't care about
They're like, yeah, we got a baby deer or a rabbit.
Yeah. And then, and I think to my dogs, and I'm like, they're sitting around just like begging for food.
Yeah.
Like,
how about your lazy bums go get it?
Yeah, you take it out of the food container and fill it up yourself.
Go grab that. You've got neighbors.
Yeah.
Go invade their apartments.
Yeah,
grab their food, rip a leg off.
Yeah, do whatever you can and go get your own food. The coyotes have figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's just over time. There's just such a contrast between the wild dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And coyotes are very pretty. They're most of them are to look at if they haven't been beat up by some other animal. And then you look at your dog and how it operates, it's like, okay, two very specific genetic routes have been taken. And one has gone to acclimate itself to how human behavior works and working with the human. The other one's like, screw humans, we're going to keep doing our own thing.
Yes.
And so what we want to talk about here is how there's been a study. A data study, especially with gene mapping, on Siberian wolves.
Ice Age wolves in the bid to trace the origin of dogs.
Because we in our recorded past, you see it in many old cultures, even, hieroglyphics, they'll show, man's interaction with dogs, right? And in Turkey, like farmers used to have dogs that would come with them. But a lot of these areas sat across major trade routes. So when there was, high amounts of civilization in a specific place, when traders would come in and things would collide, naturally a dog would be brought with them. So like dogs are coming from like Siberia, Western Europe, Northern Africa, and they're all just like intermingling. And farmers over time, like crop selection. You always want to plant seeds for the crop that was more robust because you want to keep your yields up.
Right.
Well, they want to do the same thing with those working breeds, right? I want to continue to choose this dog. It seems to be bonded pretty well to me. It's easy with humans. Let's rebreed it with another thing. Oh, and it also does well in the farm field. And so you see how this process starts to work. But the real question is, if we go back in time, what is the progenitor to these domesticated dogs? What is the progenitor of the dog that is so bonded with a human being and can be so domesticated? Does it really come from a wolf? So let's dive into this article here.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. There was a dog that was laid to rest that they found 8,000 years ago. It's fossilized bones, but the dog was adorned with the necklace of an elk tooth.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to know what adorn means, it's like you're graciously placing something. An elk tooth, which is interesting. So you think it was like used for hunting?
Yeah, I could just imagine it was probably... we use dogs for hunting now, all over the world. So I could imagine it was probably the same scenario to find him. They probably thought, being utilitarian, one, man's best friend, there probably was a connection there amongst this.
The Siberian, like Inuits or whoever they might be.
Yes,
and these wolves. And I've come in contact with a crossbreed before that someone had. I gotta tell you, this thing was huge, and it was like 70% wolf, 30% dog. I remember this guy telling me, I have to put on a chainmail glove. You know the ones that divers wear for like shark suits?
Yeah.
He's like, I had to put that on when I was originally feeding this animal, and I give it like huge chunks of raw meat. I'm like, that is just nuts. And the thing would just like bite at his hand and stuff. So I'm like wondering how the interaction works between Siberians and the wolf packs that are going around.
Yeah, I'm almost picture, like you've seen those Alaskan dogs and the way that they live. They just basically live outside all the time. And they love it. They love the snow but I mean, there's a separation, a distinction there from being a working dog to, you see that with police animals too, or service dogs, where there's this separation of not, becoming that it has a job to do, because dogs love to work.
They do. They love to work. My dogs become immensely bored unless I give them a task.
Yeah.
And it could be the stupidest task in the world, but they are so pleased to be
doing it. And I want people, this is like a little tip. I learned this. You can go on Amazon and buy puzzles for dogs.
Yep.
And you put little treats in them, and they have different levels, like level 2, level 1, level.
I do that, yeah.
And they they said that a puzzle, I was reading this articles about these puzzles. A puzzle mentally wears them out, like if they did a 45-minute run. It wears them physically out because they're working so hard mentally.
Wow.
So they'll, like, after they figure out the puzzle, they'll go lay down and fall asleep, because they're just so mentally tired.
I gotta get them some more of those puzzles.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun to watch them too, because they're just like,
they're trying to figure it out.
How do I open this? I can smell the treat.
Now that I'm thinking about this, like the puzzle and the curiosity and the work that's happening in the brain, creating some sort of connection between within the nervous system. When we talked about Jane Goodall and the chimpanzees,
right?
There was a moment when she first made contact with them where these things were essentially evading her. So when I think of this in contrast or comparison to the Siberians and the wolf,
right?
Like maybe there was that sort of point when they were avoiding each other, but then they slowly crept up.
Mm-hmm.
And once the wolf realized that this is not a threat, that's when the first point of that bond started to take.
Yeah, because you got to have to think they helped each other. One, there would be protection. It would, if you're laying at the fire at night and the dog hears something, the dog would go seek out the, whatever he was wanting to kill, a rabbit or whatever.
Or what if you're a Siberian elk hunter?
Right.
And you can only bring it back half of the carcass.
Yeah.
The wolves are naturally going to follow you.
Right.
Not for you. They just know that you're going to be leaving something behind.
Right.
So maybe the bond started with something where no one had any intention of interacting with them.
Yes, exactly.
And they just think, oh, this tall thing, the animal, is leaving me a gift.
Yeah, or you have the proverbial puppy being left out, and then the person...
And then you coddle it like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my werewolf thing, whatever they were called.
Those were big...
Dire wolf.
Dire
there
wolves,
we go.
Yeah. But this was in southern Siberia, and they found that at this lake, I'm going to butcher this, Baikal, the bodies of dogs were given proper burials by the humans who loved them. That's what the article says. So there was multiple dogs burials, and obviously they took the time to bury them properly like a human.
I love that they say that the humans loved them.
I know, yeah.
How do you know if the Siberians loved the dog? If I go to Viking culture, they don't love the sword. They just respected it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they would implant runes on it and all those other things, and they think that you take the sword.
Yeah, I think the respect may have been a better word.
Yeah, rather than love.
So they want to track the historic ties between man and beast and dig deeper into the genetic source of the modern domestic dog.
Yeah.
And Robert Lowe's, the University of Alberta anthropologist, said everybody wants to know the answer to this question. So, because
I got to say,
we love dogs now.
We love dogs. I have not been asking this question.
Yeah.
I know he said everybody.
Okay, Dr. Losey.
He's trying to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah. This article seems a lot of hyperbole.
Yeah. Well, you got to get hyped up. We map dog genetics.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Having already completed one of the most comprehensive genetic studies of prehistoric dogs to date, Losey and an international team of more than 50 researchers have turned their attention to the DNA of wolves for the end of the last ice age about 11,500 years ago, which the timeline seems like that would make sense.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And what's cool about this is that with the DNA mapping, what they do is they look at the spacing and the position between genes. And so if that is shared between a couple of wolves, and then you also find that same sort of almost like geographical layout,
right,
with another domesticated dog that you might find down in Turkey, then something has to be connected or shared.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did is they expand beyond just this large data set of doing the DNA mapping to say, okay, let's start mapping the DNA of the individuals that were actually buried around the wolf.
Right.
So what happens is you have the wolf in the center. It's like the
gray wolf.
The crown jewel, the 100-pound gray wolf, which is insane. And then about 100 yards or 200 yards outside of that is a ring of burial of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at that DNA and then, like, has there been a match between the DNA of the dog and the DNA of these people in these other more developed areas? Because then you can start to say, was there a transition or an interaction between these people and this wolf with the people down in Turkey that are also sharing this DNA and the dog sharing that DNA?
Right.
Is there some sort of comparative analysis that can kind of happen here with that genetic data?
Yeah, and Losey said no one has really come up with a long-standing answer that convinces people for more than a year or two until new data comes out. So the data sets are coming out, and then it's opening up something new that they've never thought of, and so now they're like,
that's a cool point that you talked about that. When you get new data, more truthful, advanced data, we have to then go back and refine our view of the world, how we thought things really were. You know, we always kind of have this like bent perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You view things a certain way, I view it a certain way. But then when the third party, some just totally independent, agnostic third party like data comes in and says, no, you should really be looking at it like this.
Yes.
Because this is what it is. It's amazing how, in the sense of, you know, dog mapping and how we feel about dogs and their history, it kind of plays off in everything else. You know, as more of this truthful data comes in that you can, you know, aggregate and analyze, it's going to refine our view of the world to a more truthful view.
Yeah, well, Dr. Losey, he's on to something because he said, let's go back to the source.
Oh, man,
love that?
What a good dude.
Yeah, I came up with the source because he said this. He said, mapping wolf DNA will help them narrow things down on the dog mystery. Anytime you can go back to the source, it's going to narrow things down.
It narrows it right down because you know where things started.
Yes.
You know, they look for it in crimes, right? They, you know, NASA wants to know, well, where's the part where we're going to stop so we can land back at it? It's always like looking back, you know, we're the birth of the universe. Where's the source? What's that driver? That's what we're always searching for, whatever that might be. But it's beneficial because it helps us find, you know, the real raw truth without all these other, you know, interactions that are a part of this lifespan of this dog that could affect what we think is really going on. Like love, we're not really sure if they loved it.
Right.
But we have to go back to the source and try and figure out, well, what really was that sort of relationship that was going on between the wolf and the Siberians?
Yeah, and that's what they think, this Ice Age wolf, that during that time, the 11,500 years, that is the time that they feel like if they can get more of these, if they can unearth more of these wolves during that time frame, they said it's extremely rare to find intact DNA.
Yeah.
But when they do find it, if they can map it out and then map out the gray wolf, they feel like they can start looking at correlations, and you know, I mean, I think it would be it's a daunting task, but a task that seems doable with data.
It's also another interesting metaphor is that it requires human effort to generate that data.
Right.
The person has to literally go to Siberia and start carving through the ice, and then you can figure out truthfully what's going on. Well, the same thing works for any old Joe Schmo too. Like that person is doing their life, going about whatever process is, and they're creating data while they're doing it. You know, it's like, it's funny what really drives it, you know, and I think that's a really, really cool driver. And, you know, there's a lot of analogies that can be used here with this article and actually mapping this wolf DNA and what it really means for data and the process of how we use it and how we learn from it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and we can close on this. This Dr. Losey said, understanding the history of dogs sheds light on our own ancestors. Even thousands of years ago, dogs has already earned an important place in human society. So, you know, sometimes getting data from a certain thing that correlates with something else can actually give you insight. So that's what they're looking at. Not only is it going to we're just going to understand where
about the dog,
where Pluto came from.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be able to understand about us, migratory patterns, you know, all these different, you know, settlements.
It's one more thing to back up how we think, you know, ancient human migration really was like.
Yeah, and data interconnects like that. And I want to kind of get into a little bit when we talked about going back to the source, when we talk about mapping.
Oh, hold on, everybody. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, still choosing a ring. It's my favorite. Yeah, so let's go back to the source. Tell me.
Yeah, so, and you can close on this. Going back to the source, you know, they're looking at mapping out this DNA. If a business wants to purchase data from TARTLE and they want to go to the source and they want to map out questions that they may have, in looking exactly at, maybe it's a big project that they're looking at, but there's holes in that project.
Yeah.
And they want to go to the source. How would they do that, and how could they purchase data from Tartle?
Yeah, the easiest way for them to do that, and please excuse me one more time, it must be important.
Yeah.
Who knows? The way for them to do that is they go to tartle.co and they're going to click on the button that says Get Started.
Mm-hmm.
And if you already have an idea in your mind of the unknown you're trying to solve, then it's unknown, so it might be a little bit of a misnomer, but there's a lot of data that is already in the marketplace. And that can help be things that may be corollary to what you're trying to figure out.
Right.
It may not be something direct. And so if you need to pair that data with something that's direct, you can come in and you can build that data packet so it's specific to what you need as a business or a researcher. And then once you've done that, you say, okay, well, how much of it do I want to buy from people? Okay, I want to buy 10,000 of these. Well, okay, I want to buy 10,000 right here. I put in the price and I hit place bid. And then all you got to do is just wait 24 hours for the bid cycle to end. And then there you have it. You have this beautiful, clean data set where people have already done the work to sift through a lot of the stuff for you. And you can just come in and do the analysis that you want to do on it. 24 hours. You have a clean little file. All done. All the unknowns right there.
That's amazing. And so I encourage everybody to go to
This episode's falling apart.
TARTLE.co.
Yeah.
My ancient.
Thank you for listening to TartleCast with your hosts Alexander McKegg and Jason Rigby, where humanity steps into the future and source data defines the path. What's your data worth?